between the office and the man, becoming the office, he would lose his ability to make fair judgments. He often spoke of a disease afflicting only office holders in the vicinity of the nation's capital, a dangerous malady called Potomac fever, incurable in its advanced stages, and he was accustomed to inquire of his personal physician, Wallace Graham, a fellow Missourian, whom he saw daily, whether so-and-so might possibly, just possibly, be suffering from the disease. Through the long years of politics, 10 as a county commissioner in Jackson County, Missouri, 10 in the Senate, 8 in the vice presidency and presidency, Truman took pride that he was a politician, a word that in his estimate required explanation. He believed a political leader should be no different from people in other professions, such as physicians or clergymen. He was not pursuing politics for money, and in a real sense was, like members of other professions, a servant of the people, and not of the people who elected him, but of all the people in his bailiwick, Jackson County, or the state of Missouri, or, ultimately, the United States. The country's 33rd president was a very special chief executive, assuredly not a simple American who suddenly found himself in a high place. He liked to say he was just an average American, and there were a million others who could have done what he did, but there was no truth in the claim. For he had attained a rare balance of qualities that made him, despite some debits on his balance sheet, one of the best choices fate could have provided when, in April 1945, Franklin D. Roosevelt passed on. Chapter 1. Early Years. Harry S. Truman was born on May 8, 1884, in the farm village of Lamar, Missouri, 120 miles south of Kansas City. The time was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The place, the small white frame house of his parents. His father and mother had married 2.5 years before, and Harry was the second child. The first, also a boy, had been stillborn. Such were the vital statistics, and behind their barrenness lay still other aridities. The scene that spring day in Missouri more than a century ago comes easily to mind. Lamar was a village of 700 people, made up of retired farmers and merchants who catered to farmers. The streets were arranged in regular fashion, lined by rows of houses with alleys and horse barns behind. At the center of the village stood the courthouse, on a square, around which the stores arranged themselves, facing each other, a motley assemblage, with their false fronts vying for attention. And away in all directions stretched the landscape of Missouri, which, like so much of the American Middle West, does not make the heart leap up. Uninspiring countryside, most of it rolling fields, as far as the eye can see. When the child Harry Truman lived in Lamar, the land raised wheat and corn, oats for horses and mules, and clover to rest the ground, and, like oats, feed work animals. Dirt roads ran north and south, east and west, laid out to mark the square miles so readily discernible from an airplane window today. The Ordinance of 1785 had organized the Northwest Territory that way, and Missouri followed the pattern. Houses and barns fronted the roads, and every half-dozen miles was a village that looked like the preceding one. Near the center of each county, a traveler encountered another village like Lamar, with a square, within which rose another courthouse. Missouri had, and still has, 114 counties. The picture is deceptive. Missouri scenery may be beautiful only to the native beholder, but this does not mean Missourians lack imagination to do important things, as Truman proved in his lifetime. Indeed, nondescription is an advantage. If the commonplaces of Missouri offer no feasts to the eye, they serve to concentrate the mind. And Missouri has another advantage. Kansas City, near which Harry Truman spent the first 50 years of his life, lies almost in the geographical center of the United States. In that sense, the perspective is perfect.